when you saw the Big 12 schedule and how it shook out, the order and who's going to be here and who you're going to get on the road, what'd you think?
Well, I mean, I've known who and where for a while. I didn't know like the order and stuff. I mean, that's one thing about being a part of a awesome conference, which I think the Big 12 is an awesome conference. I've been fortunate to be able to be in the league for about 16 years. And I know how they do things. It's a first class conference, first class, top to bottom, how they do things. It's obviously refreshing to not have to be a part of a bunch of short weeks. They don't do it that way. So how they do Thursday nights, I think, are brilliant. You're not going to be on a short week, which is awesome from a preparation perspective. Kind of feels like you got a couple of bye weeks when they do it that way, and I think that says a lot about how they run the conference. And being a part of that is awesome. Obviously challenging. We got a lot of work to do. I've been saying this for about a year. We're at a point now with our 2023 team that I'm obviously actively talking about the Big 12 conference and who we got to play, and what things need to look like. From the University of Houston's perspective, it's awesome to be a part of it, but you look at it and you go, whoa, that's going to be pretty challenging. So let's get to work. We got a lot to do.
Then I got one recruiting question. Talked to Mikhail a little while ago after he officially signed. He pointed out that his dad was at UH when you were on staff there as the OC. And he said, you're like an uncle to him, but he's not going to call you Uncle Dana. He's going to call you Coach Dana. But you'll look at him like he's one of your nephews, like family. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I was in his home. What is today? Wednesday. So I was in his home 6 days ago, last Thursday night. And when I left him, I said, gave them all a big hug. Starting with Chris, Coach Chris, and he's a legacy. Mikhail is legacy. We don't have a lot of them that are that caliber. I mean, this dude's a top 300 player. He's athletic. He went to the U.S. Army All-American game, pulled a hat, had a lot of options. The University of Houston hasn't landed kids like that very often. I think obviously the Big 12 helped because he wants to play in the Big 12. So that gave us a chance. Known him for a long time. And my last words to him were, I've been a part of a lot of recruiting situations, and this one was unique, because we know each other very well. We've been actively pursuing him since I've got here, and this was one that we landed that obviously feels good. It makes looking at that Big 12 schedule a little bit more manageable when you're getting some 4-star dudes that had a lot of options. So we're positioning ourselves to be able to improve the roster because we know we have to. I'm going to keep going back to we better do things institutionally to be able to give us a chance. That's real. Like, I know what football needs to look like, and we're going to continue to improve it, continue to make progress when it comes to on the field product. Institutionally, we've got a lot of work to do, and a lot of things need to happen if we're going to be able to keep kids like Mikhail here, because in this world that we live in, just because you won a recruiting battle doesn't mean it's over. I mean, you got to now make their life good here at the University of Houston if we want to be able to keep guys of that caliber.
Thanks, Mark. We'll send it over to Greg Bailey. Greg?
Sorry, I had a hard time unmuting, Dana. Good afternoon, man. How are you?
I'm good. We're back. It feels like we're back in this little COVID thing that we did for so many years. And now we're not in it, but it kind of feels like it right now. Hopefully from a convenience perspective, y'all are happy.
I love it, man. The access is outstanding. It's good to see you. Hey, you touched on this. I would like to ask a couple of things about this Big 12, man. How big of an impact has it had on your recruiting when you can sell the things that you are trying to do institutionally? And if I could maybe follow up with a question about your schedule.
Yeah, it's we've had the same recruiting philosophy since I got here 4 years ago. Just for the first couple of years, we'd be in it with some of these guys, and they liked Houston, they liked the University of Houston, they liked the direction of the program, they liked the direction of the university and living in this awesome city. At the end of the day, most of them said, man, I love it, but I want to go play in the Big 12. I love it, but I want to be a part of a Power 5 program. And I'm like, man, I don't blame you. So do I. I'd kind of been there before, and I don't blame you. So good luck, and we're always here for you. Where now we're recruiting them the same way, but we got that card in our pocket where it's like, yeah, man, we are Big 12. We are Power 5. You do get to play against these guys. So how about it? And it gives us a chance to be able to close the deal at the end.
And as far as your schedule, Dana, man, on a busy news day here in Houston with the Texans, D'Amico, and all that, the reaction from your fan base when they see this schedule in print, what kind of reaction have you felt in terms of the energy, the enthusiasm, the overall excitement for your fan base to see TCU at your place, to see you guys take on Texas at your stadium?
It's pretty awesome. We all know the history of the Big 12 and what happened 34, 35 years ago, when Houston got left out for, a number of reasons, and how, the program kind of went dormant for a while. Over the last 2 decades, that thing's slowly been coming back. And to see us be able to be into that conference is what we've wanted for a long time. Okay, so be excited about it. It's called hope, and hope's a powerful thing. We're in this position to be able to, tackle what's coming up, and that's great. So now we need everybody to, kind of put their money where their mouth is, so to speak. We've been wanting this for a long time, so now's the time to step up. And what does stepping up look like? I mean, it can be as simple as getting your butts in the seat. It could be as simple as season tickets. It could be as simple as Cougar pride, and jumping on board. There's so many things that need to be done. I don't think people realize what other people have and what we need. I'm not going to be shy when I say that, because I've been at 3 of those institutions, and I know what they have, and I know how much work that they've put in over the last 3 decades. 3.5 decades, or West Virginia 1 decade, so we got some catching up to do. I'm well aware of what my job is and what we got to make that thing look like. And I'm very comfortable saying that. What everything else needs to look like, we need support, and we're going to have to continue to improve it, day in and day out, week in and week out, and year in and year out.
We'll send it over to Randy McElvoy. Randy?
Hey, Dana, how are you? Thanks for
Good,
the time
man.
today.
You got it.
Hey, just a little follow-up, if you can, to a comment you just made. Just now that you guys are in the Big 12, and you guys have obviously had the great facility upgrades over the last several years to get to this point, can you just address, now that you're there, it's the haves and have-nots, it seems like, in college sports. What else can you guys do to keep up with some of these other programs in the Big 12? Because it all comes down, as you said, in recruiting. Kids they look around, they see whatever each school has.
Well, what we've done the last 12 years, and I've kept my eye on it since I was here in 2008 and 2009. What we've done has been good. It's been quality. The stadium looks great. The indoor is the best in the country. The outdoor practice facility is first class. It stops there. Okay, and I mean, we all know that there's a football ops building that's kind of on the horizon. There's a lot we got to do when it comes to that. That thing needs to happen regardless of who the head football coach is here. Okay, that ops building has to happen, because what we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis right now is going to be dead last in the Big 12. And so that's just facts, and so we gotta progress when it comes to that, and it takes time, but it also takes money, and we're not quite there yet. And so although I'm very proud of what this university has built up until this point, it's been first class quality stuff. The day-to-day, it ain't close. What we got and what we're dealing with right now is not close to what everybody else has.
We'll continue along with Rob Sellers. Rob?
Thank you, Coach. I just wanted to ask a little bit about landing a quarterback in the transfer portal like Donovan Smith, being able to bring him in and potentially start the quarterback battle, assumably between him and Lucas Coley in the spring. How important was it to get the guy that you guys had targeted early on and bring him in?
Yeah, I'm excited about both those guys. Lucas made strides this year. Probably started the season fourth team, and ended the season second team. So got better, but there needs to be competition at that spot, just like there needs to be competition at every single spot. And I think that's what you're seeing with the transfer portal now is, not necessarily bringing guys in to be a for sure bona fide starter, but bringing people in to add depth. The biggest difference in what you're looking at in the American and what you're looking at in the Big 12 is what those second, third team guys look like. It's where you start having some injuries, you plug people in to be able to consistently be able to compete. Okay. So, adding guys to be able to create depth is what it is, where it's all at, and bringing Donovan in, I just left both those kids down in the weight room and they're competing down in the weight room right now, and I'm looking forward to seeing what that competition looks like. And I think they're both going to be better because of it.
If I could follow up real quick too, Coach, asking about the schedule. The obvious one of the obvious ones that stands out, obviously Thursday night meeting West Virginia at home. What's going to be the thought going into that? Obviously you have a lot of connections there and stuff like that.
I'm way more worried about game one, which is UTSA, which we're going to have our hands full with that one. Right. So we play 7 Texas schools. Nobody else has that, so what our fan base has wanted for a long time, they get, and so we'll take them one at a time. I mean, I'm well aware of, there's connections everywhere. I mean, there's connections with me in Texas Tech. There's connections with me in Oklahoma State. Those things don't just stop at connections with West Virginia. I mean, that's probably a reason why they put that thing on Thursday night, which will be a lot of fun once I have 10 days to prepare for it.
Thanks, Rob. We'll send it over to Sam Kahn. Sam?
Dana, can you give me a sense for what do you like best about Mikhail's skill set? What attracted you guys to him as a recruit?
Man, athleticism. The dude is freaky athletic. He's got large hands, really good ball skills. There's people that recruited him on the defensive side of the ball because he can run and hit. So I think he's just kind of scratching the surface for what he can do as a receiver. Obviously, that's what we've pinpointed him as. Him going to that all-star game and kind of dominating some competition at that level is obviously is head turning. Okay. So just the athleticism is crazy, but you're talking about one of the best kids that I've ever recruited. I mean, he is a first-class kid from a great family. His mom lives here in Houston, and Houston means a lot to him. At the end of the day, that's kind of what won out. But, we had to do our due diligence from a coaching perspective on getting to know him. And the more you get to know this kid, the more that you're surrounded by a legacy kid that cares about Houston, cares about the University of Houston, but is freaky athletic and very intelligent. And, I can't quit raving about what kind of a young man he is.
You mentioned that obviously you guys as a program haven't landed that caliber of guy very often. Is it safe to say you guys have to start landing that caliber guy a little bit more often as you guys move up in competition?
Yeah, and it can't just be at the receiver spot, right? we know we got some outstanding receivers. I mean, kudos to Mikhail Shorts for just developing a relationship with these guys that makes them want to come play here. We've developed some pretty good ones. That Tank Dell kid is kind of killing it at the Senior Bowl right now because of the development that took place here. 3 of the top kids that we've ever signed here are receivers that are going to be in the receiver room next year. Matt Golden looks great right now down in the weight room. Jonah Wilson is a freak. He's got so much upside, but that's all fun and it's kind of sexy. It's the sexy position. We need to start landing some of those guys on the O-line and the D-line. Speaking of O-line, Iman Nogavi is going to be brought here to, one, help develop, and two, help recruit. He's shown that he is a master technician. The 1 year that he had at Tulane, we all saw their 2-10 turned to 12-2, and I think he's a part of that. From what they were doing up front and the success that they've had, he's got just strong Houston roots. And wants his family here, wants his wife here, and his 3 little girls here. To be surrounded by family, that's a plus. Okay, but he knows the city in and out, and I think that's going to help us be able to land some O-line the same caliber of some of the receivers that we've got.
Thanks, Sam. We'll send it over to Joseph Duarte.
Hey, David. Dana, how you doing?
Good. JD, what's up?
Not much. I did want to ask you about O-line, and you kind of hit on it. Is there anything you can tell us what went into the decision not to make a change there and not bring Brandon back?
Well, I thank Brandon for everything he's done. 4 years is a long time. Okay. And, just from, I didn't have any idea like who I was targeting or anything like that. We set up some interviews, and the first one that I had was Coach Nagabi, and he just flat out blew me away. Okay. So technician, there's a lot that goes into that, but after the Zoom call, I was pretty fired up about him. I flew to Dallas. He was recruiting up there, and we sat down and we talked, and I knew I had our guy.
And in terms of what you've done with the portal, wanted to ask specifically about David from Oklahoma, just getting pieces like that can come in and immediately make contributions. How important was that to sort of start to fill those spots from guys that left after this year?
Yeah, we're at 8 portal guys right now. Just to put things in perspective, what's that going to look like when it, in May, when the portal closes again? That thing opens up back April 15th to the 30th. Our spring game will be on the 14th. I'm sorry, it's going to be a week earlier than that. We can't do it on the 14th because we have an XFL game here. So I had to move all our dates and stuff, which is what I've been kind of working through this morning. But it opens back up on the 15th, to my point. So there's a 2-week window there where it's back open after spring ball. I don't know what that looks like. How many guys are going to go through spring ball, and then there's going to be a whole nother wave. I don't know. We currently have room for 8 more. So we're actively in the portal now, and we're going to continue to be in the portal for for who's in there for the remainder of the semester, and then see what it looks like from the 15th to the 30th. And if we have guys, which I'm sure we will, that after spring ball, if they're second team, third team, fourth team, whatever it is, we may have another wave of some guys getting in, and we got our jobs to replace them with what we view as Big 12 caliber players. So as far as David goes, I don't even worry about 1-year guys or 2-year guys. Brian George is a corner. He looks great. I don't really want to go through and talk about each one of these guys right here, but 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Actually, there's 9, 10 portal guys that are currently on our team. And we're gonna add a few more, moving forward here over the next couple of weeks. There's already been a couple of guys announced that I can't talk about, because you can't really sign those guys. And so until they enroll, you don't talk about them. David's skill set is good. He had very, very good production at OU. He took notice of what this whole Sac Ave thing is all about, right? And so he's long, he's 6'4", and he wants to be a rush guy, so he's going to learn to put his hand in the ground and, stand up and come off the edge and work his pass rush skills, which there's nobody out there that develops those guys better than what we do on the D line with Doug and Coach Early. And that's what he wants to do. So he made the move to come back home and be able to try to do that. So, each of these 10 guys, I'm anxious to get going with it. To see how they fit, and is with each one of them downstairs in the weight room, and like their attitude and like where they're at, and they're excited about being here at the University of Houston.
Continue along with James Mueller.
Yeah, Dana, on those, 8 guys that you have left roster spots, is there, you've talked about O-line and stuff. Is there a certain area, position group you're targeting, or is it more just best available kind of stuff like that?
It's always best available, but we got to get some O-line in here because our numbers are down right now. So we got to get some O-line guys in here. I'm not ruling out another quarterback at the end of spring. You only got 2 on your roster. You can get to that third guy pretty easily. I've seen a lot of teams in the country have to deal with it. Heck, the 49ers got to what, 4? And then they needed a 5th, so you got to get more guys in here. I got a set number at each spot, what that room needs to look like. Quarterback's at 4. We got Caleb coming in June. That still means you're down 1, so and then what does it look like at the end of spring? What position guys are you low on depth, and what the football ability aspect of it is going to play a part in that as well. So there's plenty more to add, and we'll see what that looks like gearing up for what is going to be a busy June.
Thanks, James. We'll send it over to Andy, and then we'll take a few more. Andy Giannis.
Good afternoon, Dana. Can you talk a little bit about, for a lot of these new signees and transfers that are just coming into the program, what it kind of looks for them when they first get here? Do you guys kind of emphasize on like workouts and stuff like that from a physical standpoint, or what's kind of the first thing that you guys showcase to when they first get to the program?
Yeah, they moved up that period to where we visited most of these guys, right at the 1st of January, which allowed us to be able to get them into school on time. Where in years past, that window was so small that you visited them and school started, and they missed like a week and a half, 2 weeks prior to being cleared to be able to do things. So I'm thankful for that. So all those guys are currently in the weight room. They're working out. They have been for what's going on their 3rd week. We don't do anything football related for the first 3 weeks. Next week, coaches kind of need a little bit of a break here. There really hadn't been one. So they get the weekend off, and we'll start back up on Monday with offense and defense meetings to kind of start getting a plan. And then for the next 3 weeks, it's still strength. It's all about strength and conditioning, but we start adding agility stuff, on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then we start adding some small meetings and instruction on Tuesday and Thursday afternoon in preparation for spring ball. Okay. So 3 weeks, get your get strength and conditioning under control, figure out your classes, figure out how things work around here. And then we'll do football on a very small level for about 3 weeks, starting next week before getting into spring ball.
Continue along with Rob Sellers. Rob.
Thank you, Coach. Also, you mentioned the 10 transfer portal guys, and I believe you got 6 more high schoolers that were mid-year guys. How important is for some of those guys, specifically the ones you're going to count on early, to be here and be able to get that first spring under their belt before everything gets going?
16, man, that ain't never happened before, right? So I don't know who's got the record, but 16's like a lot. I think that's twice as much as we've ever brought in. I think last year was at 8. And I don't see that number going down. More high school guys are talking about coming in early. Having 6 high school guys early, and that put some of these other guys, like Mikhail's like, man, I wish I could be there right now, and Jonah's like, man, I wish I could be there right now. Caleb actually could have, Mike P could have, but it is what it is. At least you get them in June. But them getting their feet wet's good. And that's why I was trying to back up spring practice a little bit, just to give us a little bit more prep time with these guys, with, a new quarterback, with, a new O-line coach, with 16 new bodies, most of them on defense. But because of XFL and some other things, we can't do that.
We'll continue along with Sam Kahn and then wrap up with Mark Berman and Joseph Duarte. Sam?
Dana, with the transfer guys you got, I look at this list and I see a lot of guys who not only were at good programs, but they played there. Is it safe to say that you guys prioritize production in finding these guys? And what is the balance between getting a guy who has played somewhere versus, hey, maybe this is a high level recruit that we knew that maybe didn't play over there, but we know enough about him that we feel good about taking them in the transfer portal?
Yeah, most of these guys played a good bit, right? And that's the number one thing that you look at if you're going to take a guy, and you recruit him. Production's the number one thing, okay? But those guys are pretty sought after. There's a lot of portal guys that we didn't, that we whiffed on. We couldn't have it. We didn't have a chance of getting them because they had and what they perceived as better opportunities. But all these guys are very productive, like AJ Housey, that, Fort Bend Marshall kid, blew up at New Mexico, and is a tackling machine, and so you want that if you can get it. Okay. And then there's a guy like Ish Harris, which just, he had zero production, but out of high school was a 4-star guy and had like a ton of offers out of high school. So you got to kind of balance the two. I don't know which one's better. I think you always go with more production than potential. But just based on what your needs are and who you feel good about, you got to go.
And you mentioned stuff that you guys need to compete on a Big 12 level. I'm curious from a recruiting staff standpoint. I know you guys added a lot to that last year. Is there any more on that front that you guys need to do moving forward to be competitive?
Yeah, I mean, I'm our administration, Pez and the entire administration from that standpoint has been really good. Just very excited about that. That was built into the contract that I had last year. Is what's the next step? And the next step is staffing. That's the immediate thing that we can do right now, which is staffing. Our recruiting personnel, we just added, I believe, 3 positions. And Casey Smith and the director is doing a great job, but we're putting 2 in scouting, which those are 2 positions that we did not have because scouting has become extremely important. Okay. As in, like, you sit there and you watch and you evaluate not only high school guys, but, people that you play against and people that you're trying to recruit, who gets in the transfer portal and all the rest of it. That has become 2 full-time positions. On campus recruiting, Courtney's doing a great job. We added another position underneath her, and then director of player personnel, both offensively and defensively, we added a position right there. So I think we're up to about 7 or 8 full-time now in recruiting, which I remember back in the day, you didn't have any. I mean, you had your 9 assistant coaches who were involved in recruiting, and so that staff, that recruiting staff's doing a great job, and we've added positions of that. Probably the next stuff that we've added to is support staff when it comes to offensive and defensive analysts. I mean, you guys have heard the rumors. I mean, those guys are going to be able to start coaching in the fall, so you need to add people that are basically assistants to assistants, that can help and aid in the ability to be able to coach guys and get people prepared the right way throughout the course of the week. What happens when coaches need to get out on the road and recruit? Well, you need somebody back here that can carry the load when they're not here and help get those guys caught up. So, we're in a good place when it comes to support staff, and it's beginning to look like a Big 12 model.
Send it over to Mark Berman. Mark.
Dana, you talked about Mikhail legacy. He said this morning that he hopes that he can have his son come to UH to continue that legacy. When you hear stuff like that, how does it hit you?
Well, I just think it's refreshing more than anything, right? I mean, I think it's the beginning of what can be at the University of Houston. I've seen this potential for a long time, and that potential is becoming reality. So, Mikhail's awesome. He did recruiting the right way. He didn't just say, I'm going to Houston. I mean, he was actively pursued by a lot of people and check out a lot of different things. And just his heart said, I need to be at UH and at the University of Houston and in the city of Houston. And he followed through on what he said he was going to do. I don't need him having any kids anytime soon, though. Let's put that towards. Let's worry about that in the future.
Thanks, Mark. We'll send it over to Joseph Duarte, and then we'll wrap up with Rob Sellers. Joseph?
Dana, you guys announced, I guess, last week the adding of the 2027 game against LSU. I know your thoughts have been sort of on wanting to play some of those neutral site games when you can. Any insight onto how things are moving forward with some of the other years? What you're looking for? Had any receptive schools from starting things with you guys?
Nah, I don't really think about anything other than what's kind of next. I mean, Pez has got his hands all over the schedule aspect of it. I take them 1 year at a time, but the preseason non-conference neutral site thing, I still think is going to gain traction, moving forward. I think people are going to do it. It's a hefty payday. What does our non-conference thing need to look like? The Big 12 has been adamant about what it needs to look like for a long time. And it's a Power 5, it's a group of 5, and it's a FCS, so who's the Power 5? I mean, I'm not downplaying LSU by any means. I mean, they're one of the top schools in the country, but all Power 5s are pretty good, so whoever that one Power 5 is, you got your hands full with them, and then whoever your group of 5 is, which, Rice is obviously a good model. North Texas would be a good model. Texas State, just something like that, I think is a good idea. And then an FCS one in there as well. So that's what the Big 12 is pretty adamant about what it needs to look like. And I would anticipate that's what it's going to look like for Houston moving forward in the years.
If I can sneak this in, how's Alton doing? Any update progress wise?
Yeah, he's good. He's down in the weight room right now. He's on track. He's good. I got a plan. He's going to have to cut it loose and play football at some point, but I'd prefer it to be a little closer to the season. So, we'll obviously be careful with them, but it's going to be how you feeling. And after you do more and more on your knee, how's it feeling? Do we need to back you off? Do we need to speed you forward? Alton's in a good spot. He's in a good headspace. Looks great and feels great.
Give the final question to Rob Sellers. Rob?
Appreciate it, Coach. One last question. I know I'd be remiss, and we'll see how much you can talk about. But obviously, you talk about arms race in college football. NIL is obviously something that's a big deal now. What are your thoughts on that, how it's progressed over the last year, and how you guys can continue to try to be competitors in that market as well?
Yeah, it's funny. I think I read something or heard something on Twitter yesterday that the NCAA is beefing up their enforcement. Have you guys heard anything like that? I heard that's, I mean, I believe that when I see it. I don't see any enforcing going on out there. It's good. The intent of the rule is good. The intent of the rule is kids can benefit and prosper on their name, their image, and their likeness. We've all heard stories. Are they true? Are they not true? I don't know. I don't know. I know our kids at the University of Houston and our collective is doing a great job of making this possible. Lincoln Cougs. This is a city where there's a lot of opportunity. And so I think our players are going to have an opportunity if they got a good name and they got a good image and people like them, that they'll have an opportunity to be able to do some things with that. I think that's all I think that's all I can. I don't think I can say that.
That's right.
Coach, we appreciate your time here today. Look forward to visiting with you again here soon.
All right. Good to see everybody. Go Cougs.